Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Gladys McCoy, the co-founder and director of the Ozark Research Institute that explores the power of the focused mind. She has been a dowser for at least 30 years. Dowsing is an ancient art and a science, and it's been around probably since human beings have been on the earth. I'm going to have her explain it to you. Without further ado, please welcome Gladys McCoy to It's Rainmaking Time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome. I appreciate you calling.
My late condolences about the passing of your husband, Harold, who was a great contribution to humanity and to the dowsing world and the healing world. I'm sure he is very much missed.
Yes, he is, by everybody.
Talk a little bit about what dowsing is from your perspective, the perspective of the Ozark Research Institute.
Dowsing is the ability to locate unseen, unknown items, people, any number of things, but it's something that's not consciously known to the mind. But I believe that deep within us we have all that knowledge and a way to tap into it. And I think the dowsing gives us the tool to do so.
Now, in terms of the logistics of dowsing, when we spoke in our earlier conversation, you shared about how dowsing was used on wagons to look for water, right?
Yeah, when people were going across the country and homesteading, etc., they had no way of knowing where the water was, and they used the dowsing rods. There are pictures, of people, paintings of people that were on the wagon trains with the dowsing instrument, which was, at that time, the forked stick made out of a tree branch to find the water that they needed while they were in the middle of the desert, so to speak.
Where did they hear about that?
Well, dowsing's been around for, my goodness, thousands and thousands of years. There are cave drawings of dowsers that go back in Europe area and in the Mideast that date back thousands of years ago. So dowsing is not something new to the modern world by any means. And I think the old story was that they passed it down from father to daughter, from daughter to son, or, and such, or it was the seventh son of the seventh son that had the ability to do so. But for some reason, we know now that anybody can learn to use the dowsing instruments to get this information that's there for all of us.
And you even said that you could take a string and put a needle attached to the bottom of it and dowse with that if you needed to.
Absolutely. The dowsing instrument has no power at all. It's nothing. It's just an extension of you and of the knowledge that you tap into. And all it does is give you a response. It's a way of getting in tune. Actually, I use it to get in touch with my inner guidance, my inner knowing that I have within me, and my connectedness to, I call it the divine source, where all my information comes from.
Some people refer to that as the subconscious carrier has all what you're describing. Do you agree with that?
I don't know about that. I think my information comes from way beyond that. From the conscious, from my conscious, certainly, or my subconscious.
Interesting. Why is it that dowsing is really accepted when it comes to locating water? Because there's obviousness with regard to delivery, and I want you to share some stories about locating water. But when it comes to dowsing other things, people have a hard time sometimes accepting that it works.
Well, I think everyone has the misconception that the old forked stick from a tree branch had a connection to the water that was in the ground. And that's why it works so well, because it would automatically be drawn to the water that's under the ground. The tree branch would. But we use plastic now, and it works just as well. So I don't know why people, have that conception, but that's the way it's always been. we have no way of proving, that dowsing works, absolute proof that it works, because none of us are 100%. No dowser that I know is 100% if they've done more than 2 wells or 3 or 4 or 5. They have to, at one point they're going to make a mistake somewhere. And I think that's because perhaps we're not totally clear when we're doing the dowsing work.
You had shared with me that one of the things that you do prior to dowsing is you ask for permission to locate whatever it is that you're going to locate. Talk about that, because I thought that was very unique.
It's not truly unique. I teach dowsing all over the United States, and when I teach it, and most teachers do teach this, that you must ask permission to douse.
Talk about why.
I believe that you ask permission to douse so that you are a clear channel for the information that comes through. You have to ask permission. May I? Do you have permission to do it? Is it okay for you to do it? And can I? Am I capable of doing it? The capable part is that some days I don't feel good, and I'm not really up to par, so I can't get good information at that point. And should I? Is it ethical? And the ethics are very, very important when you're doing any type of this kind of work. The dowsing work, the healing work, anything where you have other people involved. We should always stay on the ethical side of it. And if I go out even to do a well, I ask permission. May I? Even though that farmer has asked me to come out there and douse, but I think I'm getting permission from the source where all my information comes from. And can I? And should I? Is it ethical? Because I don't want to site a well on this man's property and perhaps the person next door is going to lose their water because we've tapped into their stream.
Got it. So there may be some mystery. When you get a no, you may not know the reason. You just get a no.
That's right, and I don't question it.
What do you do when you go back to the farmer that asked you to douse it and you said, I'm not allowed to do that?
I just tell him I can't do it today. Now, that doesn't mean that I might not be able to do it tomorrow. And many times, if I get a no on may I, they don't even own the property that they're asking me to douse.
That's fascinating.
And that would also get a no probably on the should I, because it wouldn't be ethical for me to do it.
What about people that are investing in property, or they're looking at a piece of property to invest in that has a well, even though it's not maybe known to the realtors or the people that currently own it that there is one, and they want to have you do some map dowsing? Okay,
now I did do that for a lady here. I had already checked that property before she bought the property to see if there was a good, proper well site on the property. And she called me because she'd been told by everybody around that there's no water on this mountain that she was moving to. And I said, oh, yeah, there is, because we had dowsed many wells in that area. And I actually did douse and tell her that there was water on that property. And I went out the other day, and I sited the well site for her. Now, I don't know that she has drilled it yet, but she is getting ready to. It wasn't where she wanted it. Her house is about 400 feet up the hill or from where, she wanted it. But it's down below, so she's going to have to, get the water up there. But I can only put it where the water is.
That's fascinating. Let's talk a little bit about the map dowsing. How does it work? What do you do? Talk to us. Bring us into the fold.
Well, a map, all maps are blank. Before they were ever made, they were all blank. There was nothing on them. But once that map was made and all the roads were put on it, all the streets were put on it, it became that area. You can look at it, and you can actually see that this is North Berkeley or wherever. Now, I have people take a blank piece of paper. I don't want anything on the paper. I don't want anything written on it. And I have them